Good evening, Nigeria. This is Viewpoint, where we discover perspectives and embrace dialogue. I'm your host, Odiawa AI. And tonight in our narrative, the political wind is blowing fiercely in Oka, the Anambra state's capital. Electoral umpire INEC says, trust us, promising a transparent, free election in Anambra. But as that promise echoes through corridors of power, the drama intensifies because while INEC talks transparency, some politicians are reportedly sleeping in INEC offices, trying to do what Governor Chukwuma Charles Soludo calls wuruwuru, the Nigerian local parlance for manipulation. So who exactly is trying to bend the system? Who is actually sleeping at the altar of democracy and who is truly awake for the people? Again, in the House of Assembly, the temperature is no cooler either, as a few Anambra lawmakers within the state have rejected Soludo's preferred political path, choosing instead to throw their weight behind another candidate. The message: the ruling elites are divided, and loyalty is up for sale in Anambra's political marketplace. And as the APC, the All Progressives Congress, inaugurates its campaign council ahead of November 8th, boldly vowing to sack APGA from Anambra, the ADC deputy gubernatorial candidate has actually declared her intention. Governor Soludo insists, I believe in technology, but can technology cure the virus of political desperation? Can innovation also save the ballots when human intentions are corrupt? On Viewpoints, we break down the alliances, the betrayals, and the silent war happening within INEC's own walls. On this episode, I'm Odiawa AI. Join us shortly. Welcome back. INEC promises transparent Anambra election. We begin with a few narratives, like I said, which shape the light of the nation ahead of Anambra's gubernatorial elections. The electoral umpire has spoken, the Independent Electoral Commission, promising yet a free and transparent Anambra election. The chairman, Professor Mahmood Yakubu, made this pledge during a high-level strategic meeting in Abuja, and Nigerians have heard this tune before. Promises of transparency, assurances of credibility, commitment to technology. But the question will actually remain, will words actually translate into trust? Because let's be honest, after the 2023 elections, trust in INEC didn't just decline, it crumbled. BVAs failed in real time, results transmissions stuttered, and faith in the process took a beating that even the courts could not fully fix up or repair. And now Anambra, that fairy southeast battleground, stands on the edge again. A state where politics is a chessboard of godfathers, reformers, and restless voters, where one move from INEC could ignite a new crisis of confidence. Professor Yakubu says every stage of the process will meet the expectations of voters, but whose expectations exactly is the question? Because for many Nigerians, expectations have evolved from hope to skepticism, and from skepticism to cynicism. He also announced promotions for 471 INEC staff, a commendable internal gesture, but in a country where there are bad eggs, and these bad eggs have allegedly infiltrated the system, promotions would fix perception actually. Civil society groups are not left out, also international observers, even ordinary citizens on the streets. They all echo the same demand. Let the BVAs work and let the results upload. Let our votes also count likewise. Because technology means nothing when political interference pulls the plug. And credibility means nothing when citizens stop believing in the electoral umpire. Anambra's election will be a test, not just for INEC's machines, but for its morality. Will BVAs hold steady this time? Will result transmissions be seamless? And will transparency mean more than speeches in Abuja? Because make no mistake, the outcome in Anambra will echo far beyond its borders. It will shape the narrative ahead of Ekiti, Osun State, and even the 2027 general elections. If INEC gets it right, confidence may slowly return. But if it fails again, as usual, the democratic crack will actually continue to widen. INEC says it promises transparency. Nigerians will be watching, not through their press releases, but their performances. Still on Anambra, 4 lawmakers of the 8th State House of Assembly within Anambra State have rejected Governor Chukwuma Charles Soludo and thrown their weight behind Prince Nicholas Ukachukwu of the APC. Yes, The APC, from Orumba to Onitsha, from Nnewi to Anambra West, defections are practically reshaping the battlefield ahead of November's gubernatorial showdown. And their message: we have rejected Governor Chukwuma Soludo and embraced Prince Nicholas Ukachukwu. Now let's pause for a second. In a state where APGA has long claimed ownership of the soil and where Soludo stands as both professor and politician concurrently, this defection is not just a footnote, it is a political earthquake rumbling beneath the governor's feet. Honorable Paul Obu of Orumba North says he left the Labour Party to change the narrative that Anambra deserves better governance, as we can see from that pop-up screen there. Patrick Okafor of Onitsha North too also declares that Anambra is not APGA land. To him, the state is actually not owned by any party. Every player deserves a shot at the throne. Likewise, Ukachukwu of Nnewi North, boldly calling the APC's victory a done deal, as we can see from the pop-up screen there. Bold words, yes, but they are backed by numbers or just noise, is the question we would want to ask. Numbers or noise? But let's pause for a context now. Listening keenly, Anambra has long been the citadel of APGA, a party built on the political legacy of Chukwuma Ojukwu, the people's symbol of identity. For years, APGA was not just a party, it was an emotional party. So when lawmakers abandon it or reject its leaders, the tremor isn't just political, it's cultural. Anambra's House of Assembly has 30 members. Now visiting the numbers, only 4 have crossed to the APC. Numerically speaking, that's barely 13% of the legislature. Politically further, though, it's the symbolism that stings, because the defections aren't just about the map here. They're about momentum, and momentum in politics can change everything drastically. We saw what happened in the Edo State elections. These lawmakers aren't just living quietly, they are declaring war on Soludo's administration, vowing to bring down APGA and sweep all 326 wards with the APC broom. Now that's not rhetoric, that's a declaration of intent. The defectors argue that Soludo has failed to deliver good governance, but isn't that the same line every opposition uses when the power begins to slip away? The same narrative recycled in 2015, again in 2019, and again in 2023. Still, perception matters, and Soludo knows this. Yet one question will continue to linger. Are there lawmakers following conviction or calculation in politics? Because in Nigerian politics, defection is rarely about ideology. It's about interest and opportunity. We saw what happened in the South-South zone. If Ukachukwu wins, they become pioneers. But if he loses, they become political refugees in Oka's corridors. That is when Soludo assumes power for a second term. Governor Soludo, the technocrat turned politician, faces a new test, not from the streets, but from the seats of power he thought were loyal. Can his leadership survive this legislative revolt, or has the Soludo solution met its first real crack in the wall? Moving on, the political drums are still beating louder in Anambra 2025 as the broom is being raised higher. The APC has just inaugurated its campaign council, and they are not mincing words. Their mission to sap APGA, like I said earlier on, from the Oka government house. Let's watch the video below.
I want you to applaud the four of them, starting from Honorable Paul Obu, representing Orumba North, constituency of Anambra State. Honorable Barrister Pat Okafor, representing Onitsha North. Honorable Patrick Udova, representing Anambra West. And the latest in our family is Honorable Augustine Ike, representing Nnewi North. So I want to thank the four of you for joining the moving train, and may God bless you. Let me stand on all the existing protocols. We just didn't gather as a political party. We gathered as a party that is taking over Anambra State. We have gathered as a people that want to bring the best development to Anambra State. We have gathered because we have the best intentions to move Anambra State forward. And
I've come to talk to you and talk to us. From what we are seeing now means that we've been working and we're working hard. From what you see, the kind of people that are joining us show you that actually things have been happening. And I know they are visionary, they can see. And the way you can see or pray, you will know that by God's grace, APC will take over the governance of Anambra State. What am I saying to you? Many people have come here and say, oh, this is what they have seen, or this is what it is. But I said to them, I know from day one. But we need to work. Faith without work is dead. God has made a place they call a promised land for the Israelites. A place of milk and honey. But they still embarked on the journey. There were obstacles at the journey, but God delivered them to the same place. As we journey, there are obstacles, but God will take us there. We have plans for Anambra State. We have things to do for Anambra State. We're going to have agri-chain revolution. Agri-chain revolution and the business enablers are going to declare emergency on the things that enable business in Anambra State. And those things that are enablers are the things that make business to work. So the Anambra will grow from where they are now. They are number 33 in the index.
Now, from the video we've just watched, this is not just another political rallying cry. It's a full-blown declaration of war, politically speaking, represented by the Southeast Zonal Chairman, Dr. Ijeoma Aruigu. The APC's national chairman says the party is not only ready, but readily reclaiming Anambra State, boasting further by 70%. Now, 70% of Soludo's own government officials, he claims, are now with the APC. That's not just rhetoric, that's a psychological statement of conquest. But let's pause here. 70%, arithmetically speaking, if that is true, it means APGA's fortress is already leaking from within. It signals a possible internal collapse or at least a deep political fatigue in Soludo's camp. Then comes Nicholas Ukachukwu, the APC candidate, promising to restore security, infrastructure, and education. Now, 3 pillars now in his manifesto. These are not new promises to Nigerian politics, but his tone was strikingly confident. He painted Anambra as being ranked 33rd economically and vowed to pull it into the top 5. Now, these are lofty ideas, but the kind of data-driven rhetoric is exactly what voters are starting to demand in a post-2023 Nigeria. So the stage is set. On one side, Soludo's APGA battling with the weight of incumbency and rising internal dissent. On the other hand, APC's Ukachukwu charging in with the energy of defectors, promising to reform the ambition to connect Anambra to the center. But the real question remains, is this broom truly ready to sweep, or will it scatter the dust of old political promises once again? We take a break now, but when we return, we dive straight into Chukwuma Soludo's explosive comments shaking the political space, breaking it down number by number, word by word, and motive by motive. I'm Odiawa AI. Join us shortly. You're welcome back to the show. I'm still your host, Odiawa AI. Now, breaking it down number by number, word by word, motive by motive on viewpoints regarding the Anambra elections. There are bad eggs in INEC, but I believe in technology, that's not a passing statement. Now, those were the words of current Governor Soludo of Anambra State, dropping a truth bombshell in Abuja, right at the heart of Nigeria's electoral conversation. Now, Soludo isn't your everyday politician throwing stones. This is a man who has seen power from inside out, from the central bank during the OBJ days to the political battleground of Anambra. And when someone like that says there are bad eggs in INEC, you know it's not cheap gossip, it's insight. Let's break it down number by number, word by word, and motive by motive. First off, Soludo praises INEC. He says the commission has done relatively well with BVAs and the IREVs. That's the bimodal voter accreditation system and INEC result viewing portal. According to him, those innovations have pushed Nigeria's backward primitive years ahead of the dark, chaotic days of 2007, when, as he put it, ballot papers were printed like secret currency in back rooms behind the scenes. That's a powerful comparison and a reminder of how far Nigeria's electoral process has evolved or changed. But then comes this twist, the phrase that makes headlines: there are bad eggs in INEC. Now, that is the balancing act of political truth. On one hand, Soludo is defending the institution INEC. On the other hand, he exposes its weaknesses, saying the system works, but the people running it are sometimes incapable. Think about it. Soludo's words mirror public perception according to multiple post-election surveys. Over 60% of Nigerians believe that the BVAs and IRS have improved credibly in elections. Yet, more than 55% say that they don't still trust the people managing the system. That's exactly the paradox Soludo captured in one sentence: technology can't fix human corruption. We might say Soludo is not attacking INEC, but practically speaking, positioning himself as a realist. He's saying, give INEC its due credit, but don't close your eyes to the rot of the people within INEC. That's a statement tone, not a rebel's rant. But politically speaking, it's also a smart move. As Anambra's 2025 gubernatorial election draws near, Soludo is subtly setting the narrative. If anything goes wrong, it won't be the technology, it will be the people corrupting it. INEC may have a digital wall around Nigeria's elections, but within that wall, the cracks of corruption will still show. Soludo's message echoes a timeless Nigerian truth. Now, still talking timeless truth in politics, some politicians are sleeping in INEC's offices trying to do wuruwuru, like I said earlier on. Now, that's not a rumor. It's a tagline straight from Soludo's mouth in Anambra State. And when a sitting governor makes such an explosive statement, such as wuruwuru during a public panel in Abuja, it's not just political gossip, it's a warning shot fired at the very heart of Nigeria's electoral integrity. Taking a pause here, Soludo isn't talking in metaphors. He's saying that as Anambra's governorship election draws near, some politicians are practically camping inside INEC offices, not to understand the electoral process, not to protect the institution democracy, but to manipulate the electoral process and the democratic system. He calls it wuruwuru, the Nigerian street parlance for fraud, backdoor politics, or, manipulations. It's the language of our everyday frustrations, the kind that turns democracy into a theater for all to watch, as we can see. But think about the imagery. Politicians, supposedly leaders of people, abandoning campaign fields and pitching tents inside the institution meant to guarantee fair play during the election. That's not just desperation, that's distrust elevated in an art form. Now, Soludo is no stranger to power games. He's been on both sides, the technocrat and now the politician. According to him, I've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly. And from this vantage point, his statement hits differently. It's not just a jab at his opponents, it's an indictment to Nigerian politicians and, of course, Nigeria's political culture. We've reached a point where politicians trust manipulations over mobilization of its followers, where nights spent in INEC offices seems more productive than a day spent with the voters convincingly. That's the rot Soludo is actually pointing at, not just corruption, but mental corruption, a deep-seated disbelief that elections can ever be free or fair without some wayo in the mix. But there's where the real political weight Soludo's words actually lie, in timing. The statement comes barely a month to the Anambra election, so could this be some tactical arithmetics? Because Soludo says politicians are sleeping in INEC. He's not just declaring or describing it as an act. He's shaping a narrative, a preemptive strike, drawing the moral line in advance. If anything suspicious happens, don't look at me. Look at those sleeping within the INEC office. It's a brilliant political move, but defensive and offensive at the same time. It protects his legitimacy while subtly questioning his opponents. It says, I believe in technology, but I don't believe in the politicians who abuse it. So what does this tell us about the Nigerian democratic project? It tells us that our biggest problem isn't the technology, it's trust. The BREVs, the IREVs, digital accreditations, all of these mean nothing if political desperation still finds a mattress or a lounge or a lobby inside the electoral umpires' offices. Soludo's words might sound like a casual remark, but they are an alarm bell warning us that The battle for 2025 might not be fought at the ballot box alone, but behind the scenes, behind closed doors of INEC offices. Politics, technology, and trust, three pillars shaking under the weight of the Anambra elections. Drawing the curtain now, in the thick of the rising storm, we leave Anambra 2025 narrative for now, as INEC promises transparency in Anambra, yet whispers of bad eggs inside the commission refuse to fade. Soludo says he believes in technology, but also warns that some politicians are sleeping inside the INEC's office. 4 lawmakers reject Soludo and march into the arms of the APC, a party now vowing to sack APGA and reclaim Oka. The battle lines are clear, as evidently we've seen from the narrative. The show has been Viewpoint, and I've been your host, Odewa AI.